On a remote stretch of beach, two men stumbled upon something that stopped them cold. Beneath a massive rock, a sea turtle lay motionless, eyes glazed, body crushed against the sand. It hadn't eaten in days. It was barely breathing, and no one had any idea how long it had been dying there, completely alone. The beach was the kind of place most people never find. No footprints in the sand, no distant sound of children playing or vendors calling out. Just the relentless crash of waves against the shore and the vast, indifferent stretch of coastline that went on for miles in either direction. These two men had come here for a quiet walk, nothing more. What they found instead would test everything they had. The sea turtle was enormous, ancient-looking, with a shell that seemed carved from the earth itself. And yet, for all its size and its prehistoric strength, it was utterly powerless. A large, heavy rock pinned it down from above. The sand around it had shifted and settled, locking it into place like cement. The creature couldn't move forward. It couldn't move backward. It was simply stuck. The men crouched down and studied the situation carefully. One of them pressed his hand gently against the rock. It didn't budge. He tried again with both hands, putting his full weight into it. Nothing. The rock was too large, too deeply embedded in the wet sand, and moving it outright was simply not an option. They would have to think differently. Looking closer at the turtle, the true weight of the situation began to sink in. This wasn't a creature that had been trapped for an hour or two. The evidence was written all over its body. Its eyes, normally bright and alert in a healthy sea turtle, were dull and sunken, rimmed with a kind of heaviness that spoke of exhaustion so deep it had become something else entirely. How long had it been here? A day? 2 days? More? There was no way to know for certain, but every sign pointed to the same grim conclusion. This creature was running out of time. The men exchanged a look. There were no words necessary. They dropped to their knees and began to dig. The sand was wet and heavy, the kind that packs tight and resists every handful you try to pull free. They dug with their bare hands at first, scooping and throwing, working around the edges of the turtle's body to try to give some tiny margin of freedom that hadn't existed before. The work was hard and slow, and for a while, it seemed to make no difference at all. The turtle remained pinned. The rock remained immovable. The sand kept collapsing back into the spaces they cleared. Frustration mounted. One of the men sat back on his heels and looked around the beach. His eyes landed on a piece of driftwood, a long, sturdy branch that the ocean had smoothed and deposited on the shore. He grabbed it and returned to the turtle, driving the end of the stick into the sand in front of the creature and using it like a lever to loosen the packed earth. This was the breakthrough they needed. The stick could reach places their hands couldn't. It could break up the compacted sand beneath the turtle's body, the sand that was holding it just as firmly as the rock above. He worked methodically, carefully, driving the stick in at different angles, loosening and scooping and clearing. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, a narrow channel began to form, a path. Small and imperfect, and barely visible, but real. And then something happened that neither man expected. The sea turtle cried. Not in the dramatic way a human might cry, no heaving sobs, no trembling lips, but from the corners of those ancient, exhausted eyes, tears began to fall. Real tears, rolling slowly down the weathered surface of its face, dropping silently onto the sand below. Now, sea turtles do produce tears biologically. It's a mechanism for removing salt from their bodies. But in that moment, on that remote beach, with two men kneeling beside it in the fading light, working themselves to exhaustion to save its life, those tears felt like something more. They felt like communication, like the only language available to a creature that had no voice. The turtle opened and closed its mouth slowly, as though searching for words it didn't possess. Its throat moved. A faint, barely audible sound escaped. Not quite a cry, not quite a breath, something in between. It looked at the man with the stick, and then it looked at the ocean, and then it looked back at the man again. The man felt something tighten in his chest. He didn't speak. He just kept digging. There is a particular kind of trust that exists between a wild animal and a human being in a moment of crisis. A trust that has nothing to do with domestication or training or familiarity. It is rawer than all of that. It is the trust of a creature that has run out of options, that has reached the absolute limit of what it can survive alone, and has chosen consciously or not to place its fate in the hands of another species entirely. That trust is one of the most humbling things a person can witness. And both men felt it now, pressing down on them like something sacred. The turtle wasn't fighting them. It wasn't thrashing or trying to bite. It was waiting, trusting, holding on. Then came the moment. The man gave one final, deliberate sweep of the stick beneath the turtle's left side, and something shifted. Not the rock, not the sand, the turtle itself. A tremor ran through its entire body, and then, with a sudden burst of effort that seemed impossible given how little strength it had left, it drove both front flippers into the sand and pushed. The front half of its body lurched forward. Just inches. But inches were enough. Both men froze. The turtle froze too, breathing hard, its flippers trembling with the effort. For one suspended moment, nobody moved. Then the turtle pushed again and again. Each movement was painful to watch, labored, desperate, costing more than it seemed the creature had to give, but it kept going. It was almost free. Almost. The sand piled up ahead of it now formed a small ridge, not much to a human being, but to a depleted sea turtle barely able to lift its own weight. It was a wall. The turtle stopped. It raised its head slowly and looked at the man beside it. The look was direct and unmistakable. "Help me, just once more." The man grabbed the stick and quickly leveled the ridge, smoothing out a clear, flat path between the turtle and the open beach ahead. And then the turtle moved again all the way, fully free. Out from under the rock that had held it captive for what must have been an eternity. It stopped on the open sand and lay there, chest heaving, staring out toward the horizon. The ocean was close, tantalizingly, cruelly close, just a short stretch of beach away. For a healthy sea turtle, it would have been nothing. A brief crawl, a splash, and home. But this turtle was not healthy. Every inch of that distance was a mountain. The men watched it struggle forward, willing it on. It moved in slow, exhausted bursts, a few inches, a pause, a few more inches. One of the men began to speak to it softly, a low, steady murmur of encouragement, the way you might talk to someone who can't understand your words, but can feel the warmth behind them. The turtle kept moving, but it was taking too long. The sun had dropped below the horizon now. The beach had turned silver and gray in the gathering dark. And the turtle, bless its ancient, stubborn heart, was running on nothing. Pure will, pure instinct. The ocean calling it home. The man couldn't watch anymore without helping. He stepped around behind the turtle, knelt down in the sand, placed both hands gently against the back of its shell, and pushed, carefully, steadily, with all the gentleness he could manage. The turtle felt it immediately. It stretched out its flippers and moved with him, the two of them working together in the dark, man and animal, pushing toward the same destination, driven by the same simple need to get this creature home. The second man joined them, and they took turns, leaning in and pushing, resting, pushing again, following the turtle's rhythm, never forcing it, always guiding. And then the water. The first small wave rolled in and touched the turtle's front flippers. The reaction was immediate and extraordinary. The animal that had been moving in slow, agonized inches suddenly came alive. Its flippers dug into the wet sand with a power and urgency that hadn't existed moments before. It remembered. It remembered what this felt like. The pull of the tide, the cold, the salt, the vast embrace of the ocean that had been its home for decades. It surged forward. One wave, two waves. The water rose around its shell, lifting it slightly, taking the burden of gravity off its exhausted body for the first time in what must have felt like forever. The turtle paused once, just once, standing in the shallow surf with the waves breaking around it, and it turned its great ancient head back toward the beach, toward the two men standing there in the dark, wet to their knees, breathing hard, watching. It held that gaze for a long, quiet moment. Then it dove. The ocean swallowed it whole. One powerful sweep of its flippers, and it was gone, swallowed by the dark water, vanished into the deep and rolling sea that had always been its home. The two men stood on the shore for a long time afterward, not speaking, watching the waves come in and go out, come in and go out. Somewhere beneath that dark surface, a sea turtle was swimming free, alive, and going home. Some moments cannot be explained. They can only be felt, and this was one of them.